Welcome to the Third House podcast. I'm Erica, your host, and together we'll unravel the astrological and psychological tapestry that shapes our lives. Join me on this exploration towards our deepest potential and authentic selves. I can't wait to connect on our journey of self-discovery, so let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I really wanted to record this podcast episode because, for a few reasons. The first is, yes, this is a Mars trine Neptune, where Neptune has entered Aries, which I believe the last time it was in Aries was, I think, around like 1860, 1861-ish. So it's been a bit, and this is an entirely new energy. So a lot of you might already be feeling the Neptune in Aries, specifically the very end of March. But the Mars trine Neptune, I think, is underrated in terms of it being sort of reported or notified in this world. Because if we back up a bit, right, it's been a little, it's been heightened, it's been gnarly, it's been, all the things for us for quite a few months now, specifically with the Mars retrograde in Cancer. Now, I don't think of planets in a particular sign as positive or negative. I think they have their pros and their cons, right? It's important that we stay unbiased, especially in astrology. But Mars in Cancer, Mars is operating very differently than its normal state, right? So if you think of Mars as a person, it's action, it's desire, it's motivation, and when we have action and desire and motivation, we're taking action, we're doing, right? Mars likes to do, especially when it's in its home sign of Aries. Mars also rules Scorpio, but Mars in Scorpio is, where someone couldn't figure out how to do something that's very complicated. A Mars in Scorpio is very competent in figuring out how to make it happen, generally speaking. But either way, Mars likes to do. It likes to achieve. It likes to take action. When Mars is in Cancer, the way it takes action is a little different. Now, if you have Mars in Cancer in your natal chart, you will wholeheartedly, I shouldn't say wholeheartedly, most of you will probably understand this to a certain degree. My husband has Mars in Cancer in his natal chart, so I've sort of observed him for many, many years at this point, where it's sort of like when Cancer rules, the crab, right? All these zodiac signs get affiliated with, an animal or an object. So Cancer gets affiliated with the crab. Does a crab walk from point A to point B in a linear fashion? Not really. It walks, if you look at crabs, it sort of goes side to side. It sort of looks at all angles. So it can take a little bit longer. Maybe the Mars in Cancer, depending on where it's been in your chart, has been a journey of sort of doing things a little differently. I certainly have experienced that. So the reason why I'm emphasizing this right now is because this is not just a Mars trine Neptune. Mars will be at 0 degrees of Leo, which is 1, a different sign, and 2, it's not a water sign, it's a fire sign. So we got a little taste of this back in December. pretty much December of 2024. But Mars went retrograde. So we not only had this Mars in Cancer, where maybe we're doing things instead of linear A to B, we sort of went side to side. We looked at all angles. It took a little bit longer. And on top of that, Mars was retrograde in Cancer. So we really got, a lot of us got a different perspective or a different way of doing things, where we were reviewing, revising the core motivations, the core desires. And for some of us, depending on where it is in the chart, again, I'm going to go through each rising sign to really emphasize the importance of this. For some of us, it was in averse houses. And so this basically means these are the shadow houses. And that basically means it might not have felt fun. You know, it wasn't, it was not only a Mars in Cancer, it was retrograde. It may have felt, for some of you, a little dark, shadowy. And I just wanted to get on here and tell you that there is a lot of conversation about April realigning us, you know, feeling less heavy, less, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're still feeling like, man, I feel kind of left out, what is going on here? The reason why I'm emphasizing this and emphasizing this podcast episode is because I really think the Mars trine Neptune in fire signs is going to help all of us. But if you've specifically been feeling sort of like I'm still kind of, you know, I'm over the hill of this, but I'm still in it. I still feel like I'm, you know, delayed, or I can't quite take action yet. I think this is going to help tremendously. So yes, I think all of us are going to feel this shift. Now, for some of you, I really like to emphasize cycles, especially those of you who've been working with me one-on-one for a long time. I always look at the cycles. Let's bounce back before we bounce forward. So for some of us, we might be revisiting something that we were dealing with in December of 2024. Now, again, I'm going to go through each rising sign. So if you're new to astrology, you don't need to worry. You don't need to panic. I will tell you what these planets rule in your chart. Again, I use whole sign house system to make it easier. So I will clarify all of that. If you're starting to panic right now, like, whoa, I don't know my chart, I don't know the rulership, don't worry, I've got you. And I also want to say, I do see your comments. I do read your comments. I do very much take them into consideration, even if I don't respond. So I just wanted to say that YouTube recently changed their terms and conditions, the way they use ads. It's sort of beyond my control at the current moment because they're still sort of doing things right now with it. So if there is an annoying amount of ads, I apologize. They sort of did it automatically. Like, we didn't get to approve it. They just did it. So again, I apologize. Once we figure it out, and once I can go into the system and sort of override and control and figure out what they're doing, I will. Just bear with me. I just wanted to sort of announce that because it is annoying when I'm trying to get a message through and then these ads keep popping up. I am on Spotify and Apple Podcast as well, where if it's really just annoying you and it's really taking away from your ability to listen, I am available on those. So you can follow me there as well and then come back to YouTube once YouTube figures out this ad business. Anyways, you know the deal. This is not conclusive. I do not have your natal chart. So this trine can also be interacting with your natal planets as well. That's going to add to the story. So please refer to your chart. If you don't understand your chart, if you don't have your chart, don't worry. I think you'll still get quite a bit out of it. Now, in terms of dates, when this trine goes exact, so it will be exact on the 19th. However, Mars is going to enter Leo on the 18th and immediately apply to that trine with Neptune. So it's really important that it's not just the exact aspect. Okay, so when we're talking about an aspect, I'm say April 19th, which is when it's exact by degree and minute, but the applying aspect, so the faster moving planet, which is Mars, is going to be applying to the slower planet, Neptune, in Aries. Why is this important? It's sort of like, I really like Kelly, I think it's Surti. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing her name incorrectly. I think she's an incredible astrologer. I like her analogy of sort of like when two planets are in a room. If there are two people and they're in a room, when you're walking up to someone and you're having the conversation, it's more charged. There's more energy. You're going to feel that. And sort of when the planets go exact by degree, which would be April 19th, it's sort of like when the conversation's coming to a close and you're getting ready, like you're saying goodbye. You're getting ready to walk away. And then when the planets are still with an orb, an aspect, but the faster moving planet is sort of moving away. It's sort of like if you were walking away from someone, the conversation is done. It's still there, it's still in the room, but it's sort of, it's completed. So I think it's important to emphasize dates and why I think there's been a lot of confusion over many months where people say, well, actually, it's exact on this day. The reason why I give sort of a range of days is because a lot of you are going to likely feel it the days leading up to the exact aspect. So I really wanted to clarify this. So some of you might feel it before the 18th. You might, if you're looking at Placidus versus whole sign, if you're looking at your chart in Placidus, you might feel this, days leading up. But I use whole sign house system for this, just to clarify. So another interesting aspect of this before I go in that I think is important to understand is that when this trine goes exact on the 19th, the sun will enter Taurus at 0 degrees. So that means it's going to immediately square Mars. So I'm going to talk about the Mars-Neptune trine, but I think it's also important to look at rulers of those houses, what they're doing, and how the ruler of basically Mars, if Mars is in a house, Mars's landlord is the sun, and the sun is square Mars. So there's an interesting dynamic in terms of rulership that's going on. So the sun is a landlord of Mars, and Mars is a landlord of Neptune. So we have a very interesting dynamic, not just by aspect, but by rulership, that I think is going to intensify these aspects and really help us take action. And if you've been feeling still sort of not fully out of it yet, I think this is really going to help. So anyways, I'm going to stop blabbing on, but let's jump into these rising signs. Hello, Aries risings. Okay, so Neptune in Aries could be dissolving, clarifying, or purifying first house themes. So first house themes are basically involving your physical body, appearance, identity, and even how you take independent action, which I think could help create flow and even less obstacles, right? So when we talk about a trine, it's sort of the dissolution of obstacles. So things sort of naturally flow and happen, generally speaking. So creating flow and less obstacles to long-term financial goals, transformation, even mutual empowerment that you've maybe really desired or been motivated to create in your lives for whatever reason, which some of you could have experienced many blocks, delays, even revisions in these areas for some time with that Mars retrograde I mentioned in the intro, because Mars rules at Scorpio 8th house. So again, long-term financial goals, transformation, mutual empowerment, other people's resources that was up for revision for many months that now is sort of getting a boost with this trine and the square from the sun. So the action and desire could actually be coming from those 5th house themes. So think of joy, creation, anything to do with what brings you joy and creation. So creativity, creative projects, self-expression, children, if applicable to you. And again, ultimately, what brings you joy? Because the sun in this square aspect, the sun rules that Leo 5th house of creation and joy. So, this could also help sort of boost the action and desire from that area, or those themes from creation and joy, whatever they mean to you, could be playing a part in where you're taking action now. Now, the sun, again, I think is potentially helping generate even more action from your creativity with, again, that sun square Mars. And when this Mars-Neptune trine goes exact, so Mars-Neptune trine goes exact, the sun bumps into Taurus, immediately squares Mars. So this could really not only play a part in sort of taking action and dissolving obstacles in terms of, how can you feel good in your physical body again? Take care of, how you want to show up in the world, your appearance, but also how that could sort of be dissolving the obstacles, helping sort of put a little fuel behind that action regarding sort of having fun again, your creative projects, romance, again, children, if applicable to you, anything in your life that you really want to get back to joy and creation again. Now, what's interesting is with the sun entering your 2nd house of earned income and self-worth involved in this square, I really think that the other aspects involved in this could also end up revitalizing your earned income or gifts and even your self-worth at this juncture. So I think this, this could really end up bringing more vitality or revitalizing your finances in some way where you can start to feel good in your body. Maybe, maybe it's your appearance, maybe you're sort of investing in feeling good in your body, whatever that means to you, and how that is sort of also creating more desire, more action and motivation to joy, enjoying life, your creativity, your self-expression, spending time with your children, if that's applicable to you. That could have an effect on your earned income and self-worth, or your earned income and self-worth could be feeding the other themes that I mentioned. Now, all in all, consider how all of these themes and areas of your life could be balanced to foster empowerment and transformation to your friends, groups, dreams, and long-term goals, with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto, that for some of you could actually be closing out and hopefully moving on from any conflict or imbalance you are untangling the end of 2024 into early 2025. Hello, Taurus risings. So I think Neptune now in Aries with this, trine to Mars could be giving you a taste of clarifying or dissolving any subconscious thought patterns that really no longer serve the core motivations, desires that some of you have sort of been untangling or working with the past few months. So I think it could be really helping to clarify, purify, or dissolve those subconscious thought patterns that that do serve you or don't serve you, dreams, and generally the more hidden parts of you as it's recently entered your 12th house. But the trine to Mars could help lessen any obstacles to home, family, or partnership, or both for some of you, where many of you have felt sort of delays, problems, blockages, revisions that, we're talking 12th house involvement here, that have had a psychological effect on you with the recent Mars retrograde we've wrapped up. So when this Mars-Neptune trine goes exact, the sun will actually enter your Taurus first house. Now, this is important specifically for Taurus risings because when the sun enters your first house of self, it's going to immediately square that Mars. So there's another player in this story. So I actually think the sun is coming into the picture and generating more action regarding a home, family, or property situation that could, and I am hoping, will turn out to revitalize you personally and even feel better physically. Maybe there is a home, family, property situation that is completely concluding, or you're sort of figured out, whatever it may be. And yes, there's some action involved, there's something going on here, but you can somehow find a way to literally create more sunshine to you, to your physical body, revitalizing your appearance, how you want to show up in the world again. So this could be a great time to take action for like spring cleaning or figuring out, relationships with family, whatever it may be, where you can feel at peace and sort of centered and again, revitalized in your body, whatever that means to you. All in all, I would consider how these themes and stories playing out currently in your life could be balanced to foster that empowerment and transformation to your career, business, or public recognition, with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto. Now, again, I do listen, I read the comments. If you don't work, if you are retired, the 10th house, when I talk about career, business, public recognition, the 10th house is also a place of sort of how, what ultimately brings you fulfillment. Okay. So from here on out, whenever I talk about the 10th house, if you're working, career, business, public recognition are all things in your life, definitely emphasize those themes. If you're retired, if you don't work, that's totally fine too. This area has now just become a place of personal fulfillment. What brings you personal fulfillment? Okay, so consider how these themes and stories playing out currently are, can be balanced to foster empowerment and transformation to what really brings you fulfillment in your life. Again, with that Mars applying to that opposition with Pluto. All in all, for Taurus risings, where I think many of you could be really closing out and finally moving on from any conflict or imbalance, you are untangling between home and family, career, again, anything that brings you that fulfillment, the end of 2024 into early 2025. I just want to say before I get into Gemini rising, especially because I use whole sign house system, the midheaven, so that specific angle representing your career, your public recognition. If you do not work, if you're retired, you aren't really seeking employment, these sort of the midheaven can really represent what brings you fulfillment, personal fulfillment. So before I jump in, the way these aspects are interacting, the rulership, etc., is really emphasizing career public recognition, especially if you have your midheaven in Aries or Aquarius. But I also want to emphasize the North Node, all that movement, especially in April, in that Pisces 10th house of career, public recognition, or personal fulfillment. So just want to say that before I get into Gemini rising, because there's a lot. I think it's really going to emphasize those areas in addition to other areas. But anyways, for Gemini rising, I think the Neptune in Aries could really start to, at least with this aspect, could really start to dissolve and purify those 11th house themes involving your social network, so your friends, your groups, your communities, dreams, and long-term goals, which could briefly be lowering those obstacles and creating more flow to your work, health, or routines that for many of you probably have felt blocked, delayed, or even under revision for some time with that Mars retrograde, right? Mars rules that Scorpio 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. You've also had Saturn in that Pisces 10th house of career, public recognition, or personal fulfillment. So you've had some indicators of sort of things slowing down or sort of having to kind of plateau or sort of persevere or commit to, what you're in. So I think where there's been a lot of blockages, delays, sort of plateauing, having to review, revise for some time, I actually think where the action and desire around this time could be coming from is sort of involving your communication. Now, for some of you, this could be your own personal communication in your day-to-day life, or it could be professional communication. So think of, writing, speaking, exchanging information, even social media, really anything to do with communication. If, that professional communication is something that's being emphasized. So again, I think the action and desire could also be coming from the areas of communication, exchanging information, or any short distance travel you're doing personally or professionally. And I think for some of you that have your IC, so that IC specific angle, if you look at your chart and you see IC in Leo, this action and desire for you could be really coming from the home, family, property, or real estate situation that is now playing out or sort of coming to a head. So because, where we're talking about in the chart, those angles for some of you might be involving different houses. So I really want to be as inclusive as possible without having your actual natal chart in front of me. So again, excuse me, really consider how the dissolution, the purification around that social network, friends, groups, communities, your dreams, your long-term goals, where now there could be clear action, desire, motivation, and even more flow to maybe a work situation, a health situation, your general routines, how are you going to set yourselves up for success, etc., where some of those areas may have felt blocked. Now, some of you, the core motivation and desire could really be kicking up in the area of personal and professional communication, your immediate day-to-day environment, things within that environment, or short distance travel that you may be doing personally or professionally. Things could be coming up in those areas, or it's going to be home, family, property, or real estate. Now, I can assure you when you're listening to this, you'll know which one applies to you. Trust me. Now, the sun having now entered your Taurus 12th house could be generating even more action from any personal or professional communication that I think now through whatever action you're taking, it could actually be helping to revitalize your mind, your subconscious thought patterns, even shed light on your life vision and potentially even, I think, relieving mental stress for some of you, where if you really felt the blockages the past couple months, like, man, I can't like get out of this. Feel stuck in my work or my health or my routines. That could have, astrology aside, heavily weighed on your mental health and your mental strength to sort of figure things out, your patience. So I'm hoping that this square, although it is a square, it is an action aspect. After taking action, I think some of you might feel that relief or sort of more revitalizing energy or clarity sort of mentally, like in your own mind around the situation. Now, all in all, I would consider how all of these areas can be balanced to actually foster more empowerment and transformation to any growth and potential you're really seeking around this time. And when I talk about growth and potential, it's really you'll know what you're seeking for growth and potential. But for some of you, again, we're talking about ninth house themes. So teaching, generally speaking, teaching, writing, traveling, higher knowledge, spirituality. But for some of you who have that midheaven in Aquarius, and again, even without your chart, you'll know which areas are stronger for you. This could involve your career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment if you're not working or seeking work. So again, Mars is not only in a trine with Neptune, square the sun, it is also starting to apply to an opposition with Pluto in that ninth house of growth and potential. Again, it could involve writing, teaching, traveling, spirituality, higher knowledge, really, or anything you're really seeking for that growth and potential. That could be for some of you involving your career, your public recognition, and personal fulfillment with this opposition. So this could ultimately sort of really amp up not only the action, hopefully the clarity that a lot of Gemini risings are looking to sort of get out of at this juncture, but I think this could be an opportunity to close out any conflict or imbalance many of you were untangling the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025. Hello, Cancer risings. So Neptune recently entered your 10th house. But now with the Mars Neptune trine around April 19th, this could really be starting to dissolve or purify career, public recognition, or what brings you fulfillment. Where, again, the trine to Mars could consequently create more flow to your creativity, creative projects, self expression, or situations involving children if applicable. So there's a lot on the table here. So for some of you, it could involve your career, how, your self-expression has been playing out within your career, or what brings you personal fulfillment if career is not a thing in your life right now. Or it could have been a situation with your children, again, if that's applicable to you, fitting children into, your personal fulfillment, career, business, public recognition themes. So all in all, the fifth house tie involving this ultimately involves joy in creation. So I think many Cancer risings have been going through, how do I review and revise, maybe felt blocked, delayed around anything involving creation or what brings you joy, and how to balance that with, your own personal fulfillment or your career and public recognition. So I think the trine to Mars or Mars trine to Neptune could really create more flow between these areas. Again, where some of you might have felt really blocked or delayed involving these themes with the Mars retrograde we have wrapped up already. Now, the action and desire with situations involving any of these themes playing out currently will likely involve the desire or motivation to increase income or self-worth. Now, the sun entering your Taurus 11th house, square Mars in your second house, could generate even more action involving a money or self-worth situation that could actually end up revitalizing your social network, your dreams, or long-term goals. So there's something going on with how to sort of dissolve any obstacles, create more flow between what brings you personal fulfillment, your career, your business, your public recognition, how to sort of integrate that with, again, what brings you more joy, creation in your life, whatever that specifically means to you, and how some sort of money or self-worth situation is playing into that. But having, again, squares are action aspects. So we have a trine sort of creating more flow, and then we have a square creating a little bit of tension and a call to action. But I think once the clarity and the action is sort of taken, I think this could have consequences to sort of revitalizing the area of your social network. So friends, groups, communities, or your dreams or long-term goals. Now, around this time, I would consider how these themes or areas, again, which ones are more specific to you, consider those themes and those areas, and how they can be balanced to actually foster more empowerment and transformation to any long-term financial goals, resources, or any mutual empowerment that you're really desiring around this time, with the Mars starting to apply to an opposition with Pluto in your 8th house, that I think could really start to be closing out any conflict or imbalance some of you were untangling the end of 2024 into early 2025. Hello, Leo risings. I think this is going to be a very welcomed transit for many Leo risings. Now, before I get into sort of the general Leo rising messaging here, if you know your chart, again, I really try to provide information for people who are a little bit more knowledgeable about their chart and astrology versus beginners. But if you know your chart, if you know your basic placements, definitely pay attention to any natal placements in your Sagittarius 5th house, because this, especially the very beginning degrees. So if you have anything in the beginning degrees of Sagittarius, you definitely want to pay attention, because it's actually going to form a grand fire trine in your chart. So when I talk about the trine between Mars and Neptune, if you have anything in the beginning degrees of Sagittarius, it could it's going to form a grand trine in fire, and that could really kind of supercharge it. So just want to say that. But basically, Neptune having recently entered, it entered your Aries 9th house on March 30th. So now that Mars is in your 9th house with this trine to Mars, it could really be giving you a taste of dissolving or purifying those 9th house themes involving your growth and potential. So really anything that is you are specifically seeking for growth and potential, particularly in 2025. But, 9th house, think anything with writing, teaching, traveling, higher knowledge, spirituality, any of those basic things that we really seek to create more growth and potential in our lives. But for some, this could also involve career, public recognition, or what fulfills you if career is not a thing in the chapter of life that you're in. So, whatever specifically speaks to you currently with this trine, this could potentially dissolve or lower those obstacles that may have been blocked, held back, or sort of under that revision regarding home, family, property, or real estate situations with the Mars retrograde that we've already kind of wrapped up. But now Mars has entered that fire sign. It's trine Neptune. I think this is going to, in addition to other things, sort of create the what I think a very welcomed energy for Leo risings in particular. But where the action and desire with Mars in your 1st house could be really self-motivating or helping you feel energized again. When we talk about 1st house themes, the physical body, the ability to take independent action. So if you're a Leo rising and you sort of felt like, action's been sort of slowed down, things have been really turned inward, especially with Mars retrograde in the 12th, Mars coming out of shadow, now entered your 1st house, I think this will be a very different welcomed energy where you might feel like you can really take action now, especially with clarity, I'm hoping. But, in terms of 1st house themes, I think this could be really like your ability to take independent action, self-motivating, helping you feel energized again, where some of you might have felt a lot of burnout, particularly the end of 2024, beginning of 2025. Now the sun, your ruling luminary, right? Leo, if you're a Leo rising, the sun rules Leo. So the sun, your ruling luminary, will enter Taurus and immediately square Mars in that 1st house, which I think this is going to help generate even more independent action and energy to you personally, that after action is taken, right? We're talking about a square action aspect. Maybe there's a little tension. Maybe it feels a little, but with this square, it sort of helps us take action. And I think with the sun in that Taurus 10th house, whatever action you take regarding, your personal needs, what is going to serve you, your physical body, your ability to take independent action, how you want to show up in the world, it could consequently revitalize your career, public recognition, or what fulfills you in life with the sun in that 10th house of career, public recognition, or what fulfills you. So all in all, I think it would be a good time to start considering how these themes and these areas, not only like how have they been blocked for many of you, but now how are those obstacles being lowered, maybe even dissolved, where things can sort of flow, ability to take more action where maybe you've felt sort of held back or you've had to review and revise a lot. Now it could be a good time to start considering how these themes, again, what is really specific to you, how these situations and stories playing out can be balanced to foster empowerment and the transformation, right? The empowerment and transformation you really want to step into regarding your personal and professional partnerships, or the partnerships you now seek, with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto in that 7th house of personal and professional partnership. That could be officially sort of closing out any conflict or imbalance some of you were untangling and really trying to figure out the end of 2024 into early 2025. So I am hoping that my fellow Leo risings, you get a wonderful breath of fresh air through April 2025 and can sort of take this fuel, take this boost to take action, take independent action. Maybe for some of you, feel more like yourselves again, but in a more revitalized sort of new way, and be able to sort of integrate that and balance that within the personal and professional partnerships you really seek for the most successful life possible. Before I jump into the sort of the general messaging for Virgo risings, I will say the Mars transit, although it's Mars trine Neptune, Mars square Sun, which I'll get into the details of that. The Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto in your Aquarius 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. I think April is a very important time to really balance the mind and the body. So going into April, I want to heavily emphasize, like, if you're having imbalances, if you feel like you're not getting enough sleep, you're not getting enough solitude, you're not getting enough time to anchor yourselves into successful routines that support your work and your health, I want to emphasize that going into April. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of communication going on, but I think for Virgo rising specifically, it's important to balance the mind and the body going into this, so that you can take advantage. Now, specifically, getting into the main messaging, Neptune could be dissolving or purifying those Aries 8th house themes of long-term financial goals, financial situations, transformation, which could involve therapy for some of you, resources, or how you create mutual empowerment, how you merge resources with another, or the desire to merge resources with another, to potentially dissolve or lower those obstacles that may have felt blocked, internalized, or been in a place of revision regarding your communication. So some of you may have had a lot going on sort of in the shadows or behind the scenes or, internally for many months now, where the blockages or the obstacles, or maybe some of you just might feel like you can communicate, and this might show up personally or professionally, where the action and desire could be coming from your subconscious thought patterns, life vision, and even sort of, your dreams. So this transit could really emphasize, I think, new perspectives around understanding the deeper parts of your mind and how this impacts your relationships, finances, and how you create sort of mutual empowerment in your lives. Now, the sun, in my opinion, entering your Taurus 9th house, I think could really help generate even more action from your deeper thoughts and sort of inner vision that through action could consequently revitalize your growth and potential in your lives, or the growth and potential you really seek in 2025. So some of you may actually get the opportunity, I think, to transform, gain an entirely new perspective that generates and creates new action towards the growth and potential you're really seeking in 2025. Now, some of you are like, I have no idea what growth and potential I'm seeking. I think this could unearth that. So definitely pay attention to your thoughts, your dreams, sort of what's coming up for you. More so, I'd say behind the scenes. We're talking about the 8th and the 12th. So these are more shadow averse houses. If you meet someone, you're not, I'm speaking generally. I don't have your natal chart in front of me, but this is more for Virgo risings. This is, you might be feeling this or experiencing this behind the scenes first, that then creates the external action or that tangible physical situation from that internal state. So I really think this transit has the potential for some of you to really create this new perspective or understanding of your deeper thoughts, sort of your life vision, your dreams, that can generate maybe that inner knowing or hopefully that clarity around the action you really want to take. So again, going back to the sun, I think the sun could really generate even more action. Again, potentially through that action, consequently revitalizing that growth and potential area of your chart. So this could be a time where it's an entirely new way of taking action for some of you towards the growth and potential you seek, or gaining clarity around the growth and potential you want. So some of you might even feel less blocked around communicating what's been going on behind the scenes or communicating your needs more clearly. So again, if I see it, I say it. This may not apply to all of you, but again, Mars does rule that 3rd house of communication. It's still it's direct, it's entering Leo. We're at the very tail end of that shadow period. So, this could be a time where you start to feel like you can speak again. You can communicate in a way that feels hopefully in alignment to what you've really been reviewing and revising around long-term goals, who you want to surround yourselves with. That now becomes sort of, okay, I know what's going on internally with my mental state. How do I communicate it clearly to create the action or the result that aligns to my inner state as best as possible? So I think this is good. I think for a lot of Virgo risings, you might feel this more internally compared to other signs that might just be seeing things happen externally, but I think it's going to happen internally first for many of you, and then consequently have these external results that align to your internal state, which is what we want, right? Now, going into this around this time, I would start to consider how all of these areas can be integrated and balanced or create a positive impact to your health or work, with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto. Now, like I said in the very beginning, before I went into the general messaging for Virgo risings, it seems like a lot's going on, maybe mentally, life vision, the growth and potential you want to take, and really providing an opportunity or even a test for some of you to say, how are you going to balance your mind and your body? How are you going to balance taking care of your health, taking care of your work, with also the need to rest and recharge, so that you can really set yourselves up for success regarding the growth and potential you're unfolding in terms of desire or taking action on around this time. So again, balancing those two areas, integrating sort of what's going on mentally, the life vision, the mutual empowerment you want to seek. Maybe for some of you, it's more mental. Maybe it's through therapy. Maybe it's through transformational work. Or it could be through those long-term financial goals or resources, either individually or within partnership, that, is a call to, okay, how do I integrate this to create more vitality to my life? Not just to my personal life, but also my professional life, that could be closing out any conflict or imbalance some of you are really untangling regarding these areas the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025. Hello, Libra risings. Now, Neptune on March 30th entered your Aries 7th house of personal and professional partnerships, including marriage. So whether you're single, whether you're taken, this could involve current long-term partnerships, marriage, or the partnership you are really seeking. So when I'm talking about Aries or the 7th house, consider what most resonates with you regarding those themes. So Neptune could be giving you a taste of purifying or refining those 7th house themes of personal and professional partnerships that could consequently lower obstacles with the trine to Mars and create more flow financially, or create more flow to your self-worth, or both, where action and desire could be coming from focusing on those long-term goals or social network. So when I talk about social network, I'm talking about like friends, groups, communities, or again, those long-term goals. So I think there is some situation where, some of you could be sort of purifying or refining or getting a taste of that in the partnership arena, whether you're single or taken, where you could actually be seeing improvements in this area. And the trine to Mars in your Leo 11th house of, again, friends, groups, communities, long-term goals, could really sort of lower those obstacles that maybe some of you have felt in the partnership arena. Now, specifically for Libra risings, you've not only had a Mars retrograde the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025, where Mars rules that 7th house of partnership, but you're also coming off a couple year period where the eclipses were here. So you had an eclipse on, March 28th, March 29th of this year in that 7th house of partnership. And then Neptune immediately the day after entered that 7th house. So you're sort of coming off this, for some of you, a much, intensified chapter of life regarding sort of the area of partnership and sorting things out. And some of you might be sort of reaching conclusions or purifying and refining it to step into a new chapter in partnership, whether you're single or taken, that serves you, that feels better for you, and that could create more action, motivation, and desire to sort of, who you surround yourselves with, your social network, your long-term goals, your dreams, your aspirations. So the sun, the day that this trine goes exact, enters your Taurus 8th house, which I think could help generate even more action regarding your goals, aspirations, and again, social network that could actually consequently revitalize your long-term financial future, or how you create mutual empowerment financially or through resources with others, including partnership. So looks like there's some partnership stuff going on. There's the ability to sort of hopefully get clear action, desires, motivations around, who you want to surround yourselves with, aligning yourselves to those long-term goals. And through taking action regarding these themes could consequently revitalize, or have a, hopefully a positive impact to sort of your long-term financial picture, any transformational work, and sort of resources within partnerships. So I would ultimately, around this time, consider how these areas could be integrated and balanced to foster empowerment and transformation to what brings you joy. Now, for Libra rising specifically, I think this could be a time of decisions or action where some of you might realize, with this 5th house theme tying in with Pluto, to not forget that sometimes when we just align ourselves to more joy and creation, or the joy and creation that resonates with us, that aligns to us in our lives, that empowerment and transformation doesn't have to be so hard, doesn't have to be so arduous, right? So those of you with children, I would also consider, this could involve a partnership, financial situation, or goal situation that requires you to look at the impact of your children, or how the situation will impact or also create success for your children in the long run. But regardless of what specifically speaks to you, many of you could be closing out any conflict or imbalance you were untangling the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025 regarding a financial or partnership situation. Hello, Scorpio risings. Before I jump into the general messaging, I really try to sort of provide a spectrum of information for people who are a little bit more advanced versus people that are completely new here or new to astrology. So before I jump into the general messaging, I'll break things down in a more simple way. If you do know your chart, you do know your personal placements, you really want to emphasize any natal placements in the first couple degrees of Sagittarius. So the first couple degrees of Sagittarius, whole sign house system, in your 2nd house of earned income and self-worth, because this is going to create even more flow, because it will create a brief grand trine in fire between your money, your work, your health, and your career, public recognition, or what fulfills you, regardless of, career, if you're retired or, you're not working. So I really want to emphasize that, because you want to take that into consideration, because that will amplify it even more or create more flow and just sort of a natural unfolding compared to just the trine between Mars and Neptune. Anyways, Neptune recently entered your Aries 6th house of daily work, health, and routine. So Neptune could be giving you a taste of dissolving or purifying your work or the work that you want to do. It could also involve a health situation or just your daily general routines that really set you up for success. Where whatever resonates with you most, it could potentially dissolve obstacles that may have hindered or been under revision regarding how you take independent action regarding your work, your health, your physical body, or some of you might have been revising who you really are and how you identify with your work, or vice versa, where the action and desire could be coming from ultimately what really fulfills you in life. So again, this sort of has work or health written all over it. So again, what specifically resonates with you? I don't have your natal chart in front of me, so whatever specifically resonates with you, go with that. So I think this is the configuration of this could be sort of playing a part in what really fulfills you regarding your health situation, you know, who you really are, how you want to show up in the world. And again, this could involve, you know, fulfillment, career, or health. Now, the sun entering your Taurus 7th house of partnership, the day this aspect goes exact, I personally think could actually generate even more action, right? So we have this trine, sort of things naturally unfolding, obstacles being dissolved, and then we have this square going on at the same time. Squares, yes, get a bad reputation. They create action. And once the action is taken, typically the stress or the tension goes away. So it's really an invitation to take action. Now, again, the sun entering your 7th house of partnership, the day this aspect goes exact, square Mars in this, you know, the main player in this story, it could actually generate even more action from career or what truly fulfills you that could consequently sort of boomerang back around and revitalize your personal and professional partnerships. Now, overall, around this time, I would consider how these areas can be balanced to foster empowerment and transformation. Again, we're talking about Pluto involved in this as well. So balance to foster empowerment and transformation to your home, family, or property themes playing out in your lives with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto. So generally speaking, when I'm looking at this, it looks like maybe it's a health situation, your physical body, or you're getting clear on who you really are, how you want to show up in the world, and what sort of work, any type of work. Again, it doesn't matter if you're retired or your career is not really a thing, or career and public recognition is really fulfilling to you. And sort of getting clear on that when we're fulfilled, when we feel aligned health-wise, work-wise, this could then be taken to the next step with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto in your Aquarius 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate, where it's sort of like if you feel like you're in alignment to what fulfills you or the work that you want to do or your health, you can then integrate or create more balance or transformation to that area of home, family, or property themes, again, with that Mars-Pluto opposition, that could actually be closing out any conflict or imbalance some of you were untangling the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025. Hello, Sagittarius risings. Now, Neptune just recently entered your Aries 5th house. So I just want to clarify, the 5th house is joy, creativity, creative pursuits, your self-expression, romance, and children. But whenever I talk about children, people freak out because they immediately think, well, I have children. What do I need to worry about them? Or I don't have children and I don't want children, but does this mean that I'm going to have children? No, none of that. If there is a situation that has been playing out with your children or your child, then it's an invitation to consider it, to consider how this transit might involve it. Other than that, if it's not applicable to you, I would pay closer attention to sort of what brings you joy, where are you having fun, how can you integrate more pleasure, creativity, self-expression, and romance in your lives. But that can also be applied even if you have children and are considering it in this situation. Now, Neptune being in your Aries 5th house could be purifying or refining what brings you joy or creation now that it's entered your 5th house. So consider your creativity or creative projects, again, romance, self-expression, or children, if it's applicable to you, that could potentially dissolve obstacles regarding your subconscious thought patterns, your life vision, maybe your creative vision, or the need for solitude or rest, recharge, dreams. So for example, if you're a creative, maybe refining or changing your artistry because you have more alone time to focus on it or align it to your inner vision. Or perhaps some of you were revising a situation with your child or children that now you can hopefully conclude or mentally move on from. Now, if your IC is at the beginning of your Aries 5th house, this is probably going to involve or emphasize more themes involving home, people you live with, relationships with family, property or real estate situations playing out. So FYI on that if you do know your chart. Now, I would hope that whatever is transpiring around this time, my Sagittarius risings are hopefully sort of gaining some sort of mental relief around this time. The Mars retrograde in your Cancer 8th house, ruling your 12th house of subconscious thought patterns, could have been a little gnarly for many of you mentally. So I'm hoping that Mars entering Leo, getting out of that water sign, entering that Leo 9th house of growth and potential, for some even career, what brings you fulfillment, will get you out of that funk if that is applicable to you. So I think it could be a good time either way to see how things are playing out, where maybe you can mentally move on from the past couple months and maybe even consider what obstacles could be dissolved where you can see more joy, creation, growth, and potential in your lives, and what that mental reprieve will feel like, or sort of letting it wash over you currently, if you're already experiencing it. Now, the sun entering your Taurus 6th house, the day this trine goes exact, could help generate even more action from any growth, potential, or fulfillment that you're sort of considering, thinking, maybe even taking action on that could actually consequently sort of revitalize your work or health around this time. So whatever growth and potential you're seeking, maybe some of you teach, write, higher knowledge, continuing education, travel, spirituality, really anything, any growth and potential you really are looking into. And it doesn't have to be professional, right? It could just be on a personal level. Consider how that can sort of revitalize or create more vitality to your health, to your routines, to the work that you want to do. All in all, though, like overall, I would definitely consider how all of these areas, or the ones that resonate most with you, can be balanced to foster that empowerment and transformation to your communication and your daily environment, with Mars applying to an opposition in this story. So this Mars-Pluto opposition could sort of be an invitation to see how you can balance out that growth, potential, fulfillment that, again, could revitalize, your work, your health, your routines, but also consider how all of that can be integrated to balance sort of your daily environment. How is your daily environment, your immediate environment, supporting you? What needs, maybe spring cleaning, maybe some organization, maybe, communicating your needs, finding more communication and sort of clarity, not only with the people in your daily environment, but sort of the daily environment itself, and how that can also create action or change to support your health, your work, and your routines. But all in all, I think with the Mars cycle and Mars sort of starting to move out of shadow officially, where all of this could be integrated to create more empowerment and transformation to this area. It could also be closing out really any conflict or imbalance some of you are heavily trying to untangle the end of 2024 into the beginning of 2025. Hello, Capricorn risings. So Neptune recently entered your Aries 4th house. So you could be getting a taste of that refining or purifying nature to home, family, property, or real estate themes that could then potentially dissolve obstacles that may have felt blocked or under revision for some time regarding your long-term goals and aspirations, especially with that Mars retrograde, Mars entering Leo, trine this Neptune in the 4th, can help create the action or sort of lessen or lower those obstacles where some of you may have felt blocked in sort of the home, family, property, real estate situation, and sort of aligning that maybe to who you want to surround yourselves with and those long-term goals. So the action or desire could be coming from your long-term financial goals, investments, resources, or mutual empowerment you're really seeking in 2025, with Mars being in this 8th house area. And to be honest, just, generally taking a brief look at the chart, this has a strong signature of money, property, partners, resources, or transformational work with family. But then again, I don't have your natal chart in front of me, so take what resonates and leave the rest. Now, the sun enters your Taurus 5th house of joy and creation the day this trine between Mars and Neptune goes exact. So the sun could actually be helping generate more financial action or transformation that could consequently revitalize your ability to enjoy life or align yourselves to more of that joy and creation in your life. Again, this could involve creativity, creative projects, self-expression, children if applicable. So whatever it may be, again, squares get a bad reputation. They're really, in my opinion, just a call to action. What action do you need to take to dissolve that tension or that stress and align yourselves to, in this circumstance, maybe the home, family, property, real estate situation, the financial situation, and sort of how those long-term goals are playing a part in that. Overall, though, I would say, around this time, going into April, consider how these areas can be balanced to create more empowerment or transformation to your personal finances, your own value, material possessions, and self-worth, with Mars also applying to an opposition with Pluto in that second house of earned income and self-worth, Mars is sort of the main player. So it's not just in a trine with Neptune, it's in a square, and it's also applying to this opposition with Pluto, sort of concluding the situation. So, all in all, this is all sort of the dominoes are falling. This is all sort of unfolding. And then it's sort of this invitation to say, okay, how can you balance and integrate these areas to empower yourselves more, empower your personal finances more, and most importantly, your self-worth with this opposition. And this, going back into the cycles as well, this could actually be closing out any conflict or imbalance some of you were really untangling regarding all of these themes the end of 2024 into early 2025. Hello, Aquarius risings. So Neptune recently entered your third house of communication, exchanging information, and really those people, places, and things within your immediate environment. So Neptune could be giving you a taste of purifying or refining these themes that for some of you, maybe it felt blocked, or maybe it was under revision the past couple of months, or now the action or desire could be coming from your connection with others. So your personal or professional partnerships, where the communication, the exchanging information, and again, those people, places, and things within your immediate environment with Neptune, yes, could have an element of purifying or refining these themes, but it could also feel like the motivation, desire, and action has even some clarity here. Now, again, most people don't think of clarity when they think of Neptune, but this is involving Mars, and Mars rules the area that Neptune is in, and Mars is sort of direct in Leo in a fire sign and moving out of shadow from that long retrograde cycle it was in. So I think when you break this down, I think the action or desire, again, could be coming from your personal, professional partnerships, where maybe there's more refining or purifying going on, and sort of direct movement involving your communication, exchanging information, and sort of what you really need within your immediate environment. Now, the sun could be generating even more action from your personal or professional partnerships that could revitalize your living situation, family dynamics, property, or real estate situation. So some of you, because this is a square aspect with the sun and Mars involving your fourth and your seventh, it could be a call to action to figure out a living situation or family relationship within the personal or professional partnership. So overall, going sort of deeper into April, I would consider how these areas or themes can be balanced to ultimately transform, empower, and serve you in the long term, with Mars applying to an opposition with Pluto in that first house of self. So, with that being said, look, going into the cycles, Mars went retrograde, was opposite Pluto months ago. And so Mars is direct coming out of shadow, sort of opposing, it's opposing Pluto in your first house of self, for the last time, at least in this cycle, where I think you can work with these aspects, like I mentioned, come to some conclusion, but ultimately be able to balance the needs of others versus the needs of yourself, but sort of think long term about this, right? We're talking about Pluto. Pluto's going through your first house for a while. And so the conversation going on in the chart, at least generally speaking, I think is really a call to balance all of the situation that's playing out right now, whether it's in partnership, home and family, you know, how you communicate your needs, what you need in your immediate environment, and ultimately how you can create space and a situation that allows you to continue any transformation for yourself, empower you, really serve you long term, with that Mars Pluto opposition sort of closing out this conversation with, you know, Mars Neptune, Mars Sun, now Mars Pluto, over this couple day period, where ultimately this could actually be closing out any conflict, imbalance, or sort of situation some of you were untangling the end of 2024 into early 2025. Hello, Pisces risings. So Neptune recently entered your second house, your Aries second house of earned income and self-worth, where Neptune could be giving you a taste of purifying or refining your value, your worth, and even money, to potentially dissolve obstacles that may have been blocked or under revision regarding the growth and potential you're really seeking in 2025. Where I think the action or desire involving the situation could really be coming from fulfilling the work or health situation that's playing into this growth and potential many of you are seeking. Now, growth and potential, it could be really anything that is specific to you, but it could be travel, it could be higher knowledge, it could be spirituality, writing, teaching. And for some of you, this could involve sort of fulfilling like career desires, or just really anything that is fulfilling that growth and potential. So again, this is, you know, we're still in that Mars cycle. Mars is direct. It's in that Leo fire sign, which is definitely going to feel different for all of us. Mars is leaving shadow from that long and lengthy Mars retrograde cycle, where, as I mentioned, many of you could have potentially felt blocked or really in this revisionary period regarding your finances, your self-worth, the growth and potential you're really seeking, where now that's sort of moving forward. But the trine configurations tend to sort of lower those obstacles, in addition to Mars moving into a fire sign where it can operate in a more Mars-like way, in my opinion. Now, the sun entering Taurus the day this Mars-Neptune trine goes exact is significant because, again, that means that it's not just a Mars-Neptune trine. Mars is also having a conversation with the sun in a square configuration. So the sun entering Taurus the day this trine goes exact, in my opinion, is going to generate even more action from a work or health situation that could sort of boomerang or turn out to revitalize your ability to communicate, socialize, exchange information with those people, places, and things within your immediate environment. So it is a square between the sun and Mars. So there could be a little bit, some of you might feel the tension, some of you might feel, the call to action. But squares get a bad reputation, and I like to clarify squares, where a lot of the time, as someone who has a lot of squares in their natal chart, the tension or the stress usually dissipates when the action is taken. So that's the good news with the squares. It requires us to get up and do or take action, make it happen, and then we're good. We can, either move on from it or sort of reap the benefits from it. So I think this could really, whatever action or decision that you're making regarding a work or health situation that is hopefully in alignment to that growth and potential you're really seeking in 2025, also considering that financial situation and, most importantly, your self-worth, all of this could really sort of create the action necessary to revitalize your day-to-day environment, your, like I said, those people, places, and things within your immediate environment where you can communicate, you can, socialize, interact, exchange information, and sort of bring a little bit of vitality and life back to that area. All in all, overall, going into, specifically like mid-April onward, I would consider how these areas or themes that I've mentioned can be balanced to really create more empowerment or transformation to your mind, your mental health, your subconscious thought patterns, and really like that life vision that is in your mind and you want to turn into a tangible reality. So how can sort of focusing on all of those themes, again, the growth and potential, whatever that specifically means to you, really anchoring yourselves into that self-worth, the money you want to make, the money you deserve to make, and really focusing on that work or health situation that is going to help balance all those other situations where you can communicate more. You can sort of revitalize your immediate environment again and feel good in your day-to-day environment where you can sort of branch out into the world and sort of find a way to, again, come back to that inner world, your mind, right? I think it's interesting how Mars enters Leo, it trines Neptune, squares the sun, and then sort of continues on and closes out, and before it leaves shadow, opposes Pluto in that Aquarius 12th house of that subconscious, your life vision, solitude, rest, recharge. So ultimately, how can you transform or strengthen and empower sort of your mind, your life vision, so that you can ultimately make that a tangible reality? With Mars applying to this opposition with Pluto in that 12th house, balancing the mind and the body for optimal success in life. And ultimately, in terms of cycles, this could be closing out any conflict or imbalance that you were going through and untangling the end of 2024 into early 2025.